Being able to talk about Catholic social teaching in the modules allows me to incorporate my faith into a very serious, very real, complex world problem. CST empowers me to fight fiercely for my brothers and sisters in Christ affected by human trafficking. I've become aware of how deeply ingrained human trafficking and modern-day slavery are. In order to combat it as a society, we have to look at our social structures and how failures in education, peace, healthcare, and other social justice issues leave people vulnerable to exploitation.
I've become aware of the scale of the phenomenon. Before, I only thought about kidnapping and sex trafficking like in the movies, but now I'm aware of how many practices in our world unfortunately still fall under modern-day slavery.
The project helped me become more aware of forms of trafficking other than sex slavery. So, for example, I learned about the brick kilns in Pakistan and how debt bondage forces some people to literally work in the kilns almost every day of their entire lives. And I had no clue that that level of exploitation could exist legally in a country.
I think that the non-article resources and the in-class activities are really innovative because both really get the students more engaged in the material. Each module also proceeds in an organized manner from exploring root causes, to common mechanisms, to current manifestations, to possible responses, which fosters effective learning.
I really enjoyed going through different discussion questions because these led to the liveliest debates and conversations. Oftentimes, we would read about a certain situation of trafficking and understand the details of the case, but it was through the discussion questions that I was able to most clearly see the ways that courts and government struggle to combat the issue.
The evil of human trafficking is widespread and complex, but it's not necessarily permanent. As you learn in the modules, people, including some victims of human trafficking, have already laid the groundwork to end human trafficking. They just need our support and willingness to work alongside them in our schools, workplaces, and faith communities.
Learning the way migrants find themselves in trafficking has inspired me to work in immigration. Thousands of immigrants come to the U.S. each year, and there are not many services to protect them from being vulnerable to trafficking. I want to work for an organization that addresses those needs to prevent people from finding themselves in trafficking.
I believe it's very important to realize how culture could influence the way human trafficking victims look at their situation and the actions they take. We not only need to address economic factors, but also need to look into culture and psychological factors to better help victims overcome their fears and get out of the self-perpetuating cycle of suffering.
I realized that there are so many misconceptions about human trafficking. That's why I created the Trafficking Dispatch, a podcast by and for students that debunks misconceptions and raises awareness about human trafficking issues. Some of the episodes are featured as secondary sources in the modules, and I'm hoping to grow the podcast and reach more students.